Okay, so welcome everyone to the Global Chamber Olympics podcast. This is Cesar Trabanco, VP of Business Services of the Global Chamber, and this is kind of a special edition because this is a program that's been run by our member Casey Branch in Los Angeles. But in this case, I'm interviewing an actual Olympian, current Olympian that's right now, she's making her bags to go to Paris tomorrow, or at least to France. And so I would like to introduce Yarimar Mercado Martinez. She's actually three-time Olympians. First time was in Rio 2016, second was Tokyo 2020, and now Paris 2024 are her third Olympics. She is a professional shooter, and that's her sports. She can definitely explain a little bit more about that. And she's from Puerto Rico. She's like me from Puerto Rico, from very close to my hometown. And so it's a pleasure, Janimar, to have you here today. And we really look forward to learning more about your background, your how you started with the sport, about your experience in previous Olympics, and of course your preparation for these ones.
Hello, hello. Thank you for inviting me. So, I started when I was 13 years old. I wanted to be part of the school specialized in sports in Salinas, in Puerto Rico. Um, and I don't know, I always wanted to be the part of that school. And when I read all the sports that they had available, um, I read that shooting was available and I was like, what is that? I didn't know that shooting was a sport. So I was like curious about it and I went to do the trials and I got accepted. The coach liked the way I shoot and everything and here I am. Like I'm 29 now and I still doing the sport. I fell in love from the moment I like started with the rifle and it was a really good experience for me.
So that's very interesting because it wasn't like the case where you saw someone practicing sport or you had someone in your family or anything like that. So you had the goal, you had the Olympic goal before picking the sport. So and to give a little bit of context, in Puerto Rico there's a school that's for full-time sport. It's actually called the Olympic, kind of a Olympic school, and so that's where you went, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the school specialized in sports. They have track and field, they have taekwondo, they have like like different sports. And I got curious about shooting. I don't know, I was like, I didn't know that was a sport. And I was like, let's try it and I fell in love.
Awesome, awesome. And so one thing is that you fall in love, and the other thing is that you're good at it. So that's
Yeah.
that's very cool. So when was your first? Um, I bet it was at the junior level, but when was your first international experience?
Actually, no. My first is international level competition was in 2009. I started in 2008 with the USA Nationals in Atlanta.
I see.
It was a huge match. Like I was like at the bottom, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shooters there shooting for
Wow.
that match.
And you were only 14, 14, 13 years
I
old?
was 13, yeah.
13 years old. Awesome, awesome. And so you spent the time in that school. So you stayed in that school, or you were going back and forth between your town and the school?
So
How
it's a residential school. I had to stay there from Sunday until Friday. And then on Friday, my parents will pick me up and I'll spend Friday night, Saturday, and like Sunday in the morning at home and
Excellent.
then go back to the school.
Awesome. Awesome. So one of the things what that we at Global Chamber um, do is always dealing with young people, trying to get young people, mainly in the business sector, but in this case, I want to kind of emphasize, the sacrifice that you've been doing for what now is like 15, 16 years. Can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit more about that when you compare yourself to other people from your age or back then to other kids or your age? What sacrifices you feel you've been doing in order to fulfill your goals?
So being an elite athlete, like a high performance athlete, it's based on sacrifices since the moment that you wake up until the moment that you go to bed. Um, for me, it has been very hard because, as I said, like shooting is not like a very um common sport. Like no, not many people plays it or do it. So in Puerto Rico, we don't have many athletes. So um, I have had to train by myself for a long period of time. I didn't have a coach for a long period of time. Actually, I just got a coach for these Olympics, but I was training by myself, doing everything by myself, just because I had in mind like this Olympic dream, and I was like, I have to go to Paris. I have to go to Paris, and I had that in mind. So that made me like that made me feel motivated, and that's why like I went to the range every day. I trained, I ate well, I slept well, I did my workouts and all of that, but it's not easy. Another thing is like family. My family left to the US when the earthquakes happened few years ago. So I'm barely like practically alone in Puerto Rico, and I didn't go with them because where they live now, there's no shooting. So if I was with them, I wouldn't be able to train anymore. And shooting is like part of my life. It's like who I am. So I wanted to continue my career in the sport, so I decided to stay in Puerto Rico even if I was gonna be alone.
No, yeah, no, I can imagine. I mean, everyone has been a young kid and a teenager, and so I definitely can imagine the stage where you were kind of alone, or at least without your family. So no, that's
Mhm.
that's 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 encouraging, and that's something that I think any young athlete or any kid that's really looking forward to be an Olympian needs to be aware of. I think that's something that we have heard from many other athletes, and in your case, where your family actually moved out from the island, and so that's that added to to that issue. And when you said you mentioned something about that, like in the area of the states where there was no shooting, and it is a sport. I don't know much about that sport, but it's definitely not football or basketball that you can basically play everywhere. Where are the main places in the planet? Like what countries are the top ones, or where do you go to practice if you go outside of Puerto Rico?
So I usually come to the US just because like they're really good shooters, and it's easier for me because like it's close to Puerto Rico and like I can stay as long as I want. So USA is one of them. They're really good athletes and they have like a ton of like knowledge. But the top shooters, I would say it could be Switzerland, China. There's a really good one from Great Britain. I don't know how to say that in English. Sorry for my
Yeah,
English. That's not my main
yeah, no,
language, as
your
you can
your
tell.
English is perfect. No worries, it's great, brilliant, but awesome, awesome.
But yeah, in shooting, that's the thing. Like it's very, very hard. Like there's so many good shooters that you cannot tell like this is like the champ because I don't know, you can have a final of eight shooters from different countries, and the first one could go Puerto Rico and then shoot again the same final with the same athletes, and then the champion is like Italian, you know, like you never know for sure. Like in shooting, anything can happen, and it's very mental sport, and it's a whole different experience. It's not like you're moving around or you're like depending on another, like a teammate, or no, this is a very individual sport, and it's very like focused and calm, and it's the art of not moving. Like if you move, you lose. You know, so it's super different from other sports.
That's really a good point. That's a really good point because sport, you normally link sport with movement, and in your
Uh-huh.
case, it's more mental control.
Yeah, it's mental, and it's also like strength and balance and all that, but it's very still like you have to learn your body, your heartbeat, your breathing, your like your soul. You have to like be in control of like your inner self to be able to like have a good performance and stability with the gun, with the rifle.
I see. I see. Now, moving to the main question, and that's relates to the Olympics. I wanted to add that I googled earlier today, like how many Olympians are there been, like in the last 125 years, and since the start of the 18th, 1896, and so there's no official number, of course, but it's something around 128,000 Olympians. So 128,000 people in more than a century, and you are one of them. So that's a really special fact. That's really really great, So what is it to be like an Olympian? What is it to be doing? This is your third, so you started with Rio, and you started very young. So what's that experience?
I feel like it's a, how you call it? It's like a dream, you know, when you work hard and it's like a sacrifice paid off, you know? Like it's like the cherry at the top of the cake, you know? It's like you have worked so hard for so many years to compete in this event, and being able, oh my gosh, I got like goosebumps. And being able to like represent your country in the biggest competition that it's happening in the world. It's like it's a feeling, it's like super fulfill, and I don't know, it's just I don't even know how to express it with words. It's just amazing. It's amazing. It's like
Out of this
everything to
world.
me. Huh?
Awesome. Not like an out of this world experience, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like everything that I passed through, every tear, every sweat, every challenge, like made me realize, like this event made me realize like it was worth it, you know? And I became like a better person, a better athlete, a better human being, just by the path that I had to pass through just to get to the Olympics, to this moment, you know?
I see. I totally understand.
It's
And can you
about the
tell?
journey, you know?
It's about the journey, and that's like kind of the end of the journey. And this is the
Yeah.
first, this is the first time you're having kind of the end of the journey. So that's really cool. And can you tell us a little bit about specifically about Rio, about Tokyo? It could be your experience or just being there, but also a little bit of your results. True in those two Olympics. Anything you want to share? Any good memories, bad memories?
So my favorite part about Rio, these are my first Olympics, and I had the opportunity to get to know my own team. Like, you know, when you see the athletes in TV and like social media and all of that from your own country and you don't even know them in person. So this gave me the chance of like knowing them as human beings and like being in the same place with them, playing with them cards or eating with them in the dining hall. That was my favorite part, just getting to know my own people. Like I was like so happy just by like I'm so proud just by I don't know, dancing with Monica Pui or like I don't know, those things like made my Rio Olympics very special. Um for for Tokyo it was a lot different. Like um for these Olympics, it was tough because of COVID. So we couldn't like hang out like we used to in Rio. We didn't have like much like game rooms or anything like that. We had to be super careful. We had to take like tests every single morning. We had to speed on a thing before leaving the room to make sure like we didn't have any COVID. So we were like a little bit too careful because of course after you training for so long and having all this process and then coming COVID arrives, you don't want to have COVID and then not being able to compete. Because that was
And
the thing. If you had COVID, you wouldn't be able to compete after you qualified and you did all these things. So it was like a whole different experience. And now I'm excited for Paris. Like now COVID won't be like a thing now and I'm very happy and excited. Now it will be a whole different experience too because we won't be at the village. We will be staying at Chateau. It will be like a sede. I don't know how it's called in English. It's like not the main village. We'll be in a different place competing. It's about 3 hours from Paris. So I don't know if they'll make like a mini village for the athletes that will be competing there, or if we'll stay in a hotel. I don't know, but I'm excited and I can't wait to be there and see everything.
that's great. That's great. So in one of the conversations that Casey Branch was having, I was learning about how Paris 2024 has become like the Olympics where not everything is in Paris. And so that's one of
Mhm.
your cases. And you're
Yes,
one
yes.
of these. Awesome. Okay. And something we touch a lot in Global Chamber is culture, like international culture, like meeting people from all over the world. What has been your experience, or if there's any specific experience that you want to tell us about, having or competing versus someone from another country or meeting someone from another country that you would like to share with us?
Um, sure. So I don't know, so many. I have friends from all around the world thanks to like this sport and the Olympics and the World Cups and all that. But it's funny because um actually I have very close friends from the sport and they're like from Cuba or from Argentina or from like Latin America. And like the food is different, the religions are different, the also the language, like we speak Spanish, we all speak Spanish. I mean I have other friends from other countries, but specifically from the ones in America, in Latin America, it's funny because we can refer to the same thing and they call it completely different, like completely. And I'm like, what is that? And then they show me and I'm like, oh, we call it like this. So that's very funny. Like sometimes we just sit down in in the dining hall and just start calling things to see which things we call them differently. So I don't know, I think like those moments are great, experiencing like friendship and cultural exchanges like that. It's amazing.
That's totally right. And even though there's some differences, as you said, in food, religion, and many other aspects, in your case, there's something that unites you all, like is the sport.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's in our case when we talk about business, it's like, there even though there are political problems around the world, business always tends to, put people together. And so sports
Mm-hmm.
in a
Yeah.
similar way.
Yeah. Same with arts, music. That's my favorite part, like in the union of the sport.
Exactly. Yeah. And so now the other aspect of the global chamber is, as I said, is business. And so I was trying to think about, some question in regard to business, but the thing I came up with was sponsorships. And in another of the interviews, there's a lot that's covering sponsors, mainly on the organizers, like the Olympic organizers. But the sponsorship is something huge for athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And so in your case, do you think that being an Olympian, if we go back to 2016, was that something that really triggered on the sponsorship in your case, and that at the same time help you to continue your full-time sport experience, to improve your skills? How has been your experience in terms of sponsors?
So when I started, I didn't have sponsors. I had the support of like the Olympic Committee and the um, high performance people from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's
It
like it's a
wasn't
special a
until
special program of high performing athletes.
exactly, yeah. So it wasn't until after Tokyo that I was like, no, I have to get sponsors. Like I have to find sponsors because it it was like it just made my life so much easier. Just having someone there that will support you. Um, it's amazing. It just take a lot of weight off my shoulders, because like of course, um now as an athlete, we we compete and we represent Puerto Rico and all that, but also we have a house, we have cars, we have like stuff that we need to pay, and these sponsorships like have relieved that weight out of my shoulders so I can focus more on my training.
That's totally understandable. That's what we've seen with athletes. They really need the support, and that's
Yeah.
great. So, are your sponsors from Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. And you have been with the same sponsors ever since, like when you started after Tokyo?
No, no, no. I started after Tokyo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have had the same one since
The
I
same.
started after Tokyo. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. And is there, when it comes, I know like right now, just before the Olympics, there's a lot going on. And so how do you manage to balance your time for practice, your commitment with sponsors, if any, and even with the media tour? Because I know that at least the Olympic Committee
Yeah.
here, they kind of do media tours. Like, you're always in social media, and I think you had some sort of celebration or something a couple of days ago. How do you balance all that?
Yeah, it's tough. It's important to like establish a plan, training plan, and based on that, like take some time for those activities that are also good for us and our development. Because like those activities comes once in a lifetime. You never know if like next time you'll be alive or next time you'll make the Olympic team. So I want to also experience all these moments, and with my sponsors, they're very flexible, and they honestly allow me to focus on my training. Like if I tell them like, hey, I won't be able to be part of like this activity because I'm training or I'm competing or I'm like um not in Puerto Rico, like they totally understand. Like that's actually in the contract. Like my priority is shooting and the sport. Um so yeah. Of course if I'm in Puerto Rico and I can make the time, I would go because like I'm super grateful. But if I'm not, or if I cannot make it happen, like they're totally fine and they understand.
And they should, no doubt. And so moving just for a second, a little bit away from the Olympics, tell us, because I don't know, I bet I think it's the same in other regions of the world, but we here in our region we have different competitions from the Central American and Caribbean Games to the Pan American Games until you get to the maximum point, which is the Olympics.
Yeah.
What has been your experience? I think you got some medals in some of those competitions. Tell us a little bit more about
I went to Central American Games in El Salvador. I got 3 medals there. Actually, I have the full collection, gold, silver, and bronze for different events in shooting, because we shoot air rifle in 10 meters, in three positions 50 meters, and also mixed teams. Um, and for Pan American Games, I have a bronze medal from Toronto. And for these Pan American Games, I ran out of luck a little bit and finished on fourth place, which it hurt so bad, but it's okay. We made it to the Olympics, and now it's the revenge. Revenge
that.
time.
That is good. So everyone who's listening understand that in the region, I mean, you're in a really good position. And so I guess, when it comes to compare the whole world, it makes more difficult, of course. But you got your place in the region, and that's great. Congratulations for all that. Um,
Thank you.
so just to wrapping up with you, Yarimar, tell us a little bit more about your next couple of days. You told me you're going to France tomorrow. Um, when are you competing? Do you know the dates exactly?
Yeah, so I'm leaving tomorrow to for a training camp in Dijon. It's in France with the whole team. Um, so Puerto Rico team will have like a training camp there in their training center, and from Dijon we'll go to Chateau, and we start training in Chateau on the 20th, and then we compete on the 28th, and then like that's one event, a rifle, and then I compete again on the 1st, August 1st.
Okay, so we'll be more or less in the beginning to the middle of the 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
So we will be cheering for you, and we'll be supporting you from abroad, and the whole idea with the global chamber is that people from around the world can support you and know you, Yarimar. So that's really great. And so
Thank you.
last question, what advice would you give to kids and young people that are like you, that say, I'm watching the Olympics now, I want to be at the Olympics?
So I would say that if you want something bad enough, you will find a way to overcome obstacles, and yeah, work hard for it. And you're the only responsible of like your success or also your failures, and you're more than capable of like learning from them and get back up and never give up and work hard for it.
Excellent. And so, in one of the interviews that Casey had with one ex-Olympian from 1976, Bruce Furness, he mentioned that the most important thing is to seize the moment, to really take the moment and live it. And so,
Yeah,
Yarimar, I really hope that you take the moment in Paris 2024 and you live it, enjoy it, and of course, concentrate in your sport, in your results, for taking this with you, because like with Bruce, that was almost 50 years ago. He still have it with him, so that you're gonna have it with you in 50 years, Yaimar. So
I love it.
hey, thank you very much. All the
Thank
luck.
you.
We will be cheering for you, and keep us posted.
Of course. Thank you very much for the support.